Okay, thanks for waiting. The Senate will come to order. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Guests, colleagues, and staff, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Balmer,
Excused.
Baumgartner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Humenick, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Todd, Ulibarri, Woods. Mr. President.
Here, with 34 present, one excused, we have a quorum. Senator Cook.
Mr. President, I move that the reading of the journal from February 3rd be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. The journal is approved. Committee reports.
February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Transportation. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 23 be amended as follows, and as so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 3rd, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Aeronautical Board, effective December 19th, 2014, for terms expiring December 19th, 2017. Robert Philip Hollis-Ladders of Aurora, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the Statewide Association of Airport Managers appointed. Ann Beardall of Kiowa, Colorado, to serve as representative of the Statewide Association of Pilots appointed. Joe Rice of Littleton, Colorado, to serve as a member familiar with and supporter of the state's aviation issues, interests, and concerns appointed. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Local Government. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 96 be postponed indefinitely. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Local Government. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 82 be amended as follows, and as so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 36 be postponed indefinitely. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 65 be amended as follows, and as so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 3rd, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Finance has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado Limited Gaming Control Commission for a term expiring July 1st, 2018, Lowell Roger Hudson of Denver, Colorado, serves as a member from the 1st Congressional District and as a representative who has been engaged in business in a management level capacity for at least 5 years and as a Republican reappointed. February 3rd, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Finance has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends that the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado Racing Commission for a term expiring July 1st, 2018, Sean D. Birney of Castle Rock, Colorado, a Republican and resident of the 4th Congressional District who has been previously engaged in the racing industry for at least 5 years, reappointed. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 40 be postponed indefinitely. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Finance. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 18 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Finance. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 95 be postponed indefinitely. February 3rd, 2015, Committee on Finance. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 115 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Senate Services.
February 4th, 2015, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 44, 61, and 85. Correctly re-engrossed Senate Bills 4, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, and 49.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that time. Colleagues, if I could have your attention a minute, we are in for a treat today. We have the distinct honor being joined today by Corey Notstein, one of Colorado's leading educating trailblazers. Corey is a counselor at the Alamosa High School. On Friday, he was honored at the White House and nationally recognized as the country's 2015 School Counselor of the Year. In his short tenure at Alamosa High School, Corey's initiatives have helped raise the graduation rate, expand access to college courses, and increased engagement with parents. Our school counselors are vital to the students' success. They encourage them to aim higher to reach their fullest potential. I'm grateful and proud to have Corey serving the students of my district in the state of Colorado. What we are going to do is present Corey with a Senate certificate. You know, irregardless of what we do, I cannot tell you the amount of emails I have received from Alamosa students commending Mr. Notstein on what he has done. But I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd please join me in welcoming Corey Notstein to the Senate chambers. We have some additional.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I too want to rise in support of Christina Campos Krumholz, who joins us from Pueblo and was also at our nation's capital at the White House. She too was this year she was a semifinalist for the National School Counselor Award, and I have known Christina for about 10 years and personally know how dedicated she is. And so we want to thank you for all the hard work that you do in Pueblo County.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would also ask you to...
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, sir. I would also ask you to welcome all of the additional school counselors from throughout the region. If you would all please stand so we could recognize you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 85?
Senate Bill 85 by Senator Martinez, Humanic, and Representatives Winter and Buck, considering the expansion of the Colorado Cottage Foods Act and in connection therewith increasing the net revenue a producer can earn under the act, permitting producers to sell directly to small businesses and allowing small businesses to resell the purchased products.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate adopt third reading of bills, final passage, consent calendar, including Senate Bill 85.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 85 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majority Leader. Senator Grantham. Senator Roberts. Senator Kafalis. Senator Guzman. Senator Lambert. Senator Neville. Senator Donovan. Senator Woods. Senator Heath. Senator Marble. Senator Kerr. Senator John. Senator Cook. Senator Scott. Senator Jones. Senator Ulibarri. Senator Todd. Senator Holbert. Senator Baumgardner. Senator Hill. Senator Johnston, Senator Garcia, Senator Hodge, Senator Merrifield, Senator Sonnenberg. Please have the President. Third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 61?
Senate Bill 61 by Senator Holbrook concerning the non-applicability of disclosure requirements under Colorado law governing campaign finance in the case of certain issue committees that raise relatively small amounts of money.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 61 lay over to February 12th, Thursday, February 12th.
You have heard the motion that Senate Bill 61 lay over until February 12th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 61 will lay over until February 12th. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 44?
Senate Bill 44 by Senator Scott and Representative Thurlow concerning a reduction in Colorado's renewable energy standard.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 44 lay over till Thursday, February 5th.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 44 will lay over. Did you say until February 5th? Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I just encourage you to pay attention. We're going to take up second reading on special orders. It's going to include some of the bills today, and then we've moved some of the bills calendared for tomorrow, the supplementals to today. So with that, Mr. President, I move the Senate take up the following bills on second order of bills consent calendar. Senate Bill 108, Senate Bill 143, Senate Bill 144, Senate Bill 145, Senate Bill 146, Senate Bill 148, Senate Bill 151, Senate Bill 153, Senate Bill 154, Senate Bill 155, Senate Bill 156, Senate Bill 157, Senate Bill 160, Senate Bill 162, Senate Bill 163, Senate Bill 164, Senate Bill 165, Senate Bill 168, Senate Bill 169, Senate Bill 170, and Senate Bill 60 and its corresponding State Veterans Military Affairs Committee report at the hour of 9:51.
The motion before us is to take up the bills listed by the Majority Leader on the special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. This takes a 2/3 vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The following bills, Senate Bill 108, 143, 144, 145, 146, 148, 151, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 160, 162, 163, 164, 165, 168, 169, 170, and Senate Bill 60 with the associated State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report will be placed on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar at the hour of 9:51. Senator Roberts. We will stand in a brief recess so that that calendar can be distributed. The Senate will come back to order. We will pick up where we left off. Special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for second reading of bills, special orders, consent calendar. Senator Roberts has the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the titles to all the bills listed on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 108 by Senator Stedman and Representative Hamner concerning the direct appropriation of monies for certain programs in the Department of Education. Senate Bill 143 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation in the Department of Agriculture. Senate Bill 144 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation in the Department of Corrections. Senate Bill 145 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation in the Department of Education. Senate Bill 146 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation to the offices of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, of State Planning and Budgeting. Senate Bill 148 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Higher Education. Senate Bill 151 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Labor and Employment. Senate Bill 153 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Legislature. Senate Bill 154 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Local Affairs. Senate Bill 155 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Senate Bill 156 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Natural Resources. Senate Bill 157 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Personnel. Senate Bill 160 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Senate Bill 162 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of State. Senate Bill 163 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation in the Department of Transportation. Senate Bill 164 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning supplemental appropriation in the Department of Treasury. Senate Bill 165 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning funding for capital construction and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith. Senate Bill 168 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a transfer from the Intellectual and Developmental Disability Services Cash Fund to the General Fund for the 2014-15 state fiscal year. Senate Bill 169 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a transfer from the Department of Public Safety's account in the State Employee Reserve Fund to the General Fund for the 2014-15 state fiscal year. Senate Bill 170 by Senator Grantham and Representative Young concerning a transfer from the General Fund to the Capital Construction Fund for the 2014-15 state fiscal year. Senate Bill 60 by Senator Holbert and Representative Everett concerning the prevention of multiple voter registrations by the same elector.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move the Senate adopt all the bills listed on special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and their associated committee report in the case of Senate Bill 60, and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the reports to all the bills on the special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills listed on the special orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
February 4, 2015, Mr. President, your committee of the whole basic reports item consideration of the following attached bills being a second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bills 108, 143, 144, 145, 146, 148, 151, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 160, 162, 163, 164, 165, 168, 169, 170, and 60 as amended. Passed on second reading in order and gross place of the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Is there discussion on the Committee of the Whole report? Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 15-108, 143, 144, 145, 146, 148, 151, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 160, 162, 163, 164, 165, 168, 169, 170, and Senate Bill 60 as amended, passed on second reading in order and gross and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Special orders, second reading of bills. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself again into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special order second reading of bills calendar.
We'll get to that in a moment. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, colleagues, so now we're going to pick up the two bills that are on today's second reading and a number of them from tomorrow's calendar. So with that, Mr. President, I move that the Senate take up the following bills on special orders, second reading of bills as follows. Senate Bill 71, Senate Bill 117, Senate Bill 112, Senate Bill 147, Senate Bill 149, Senate Bill 150, Senate Bill 152, Senate Bill 158, Senate Bill 166, and Senate Bill 167. Are you? Yeah. Your amendment's not ready?
No, it'll be ready tomorrow. Okay. We need to let it over. We can move the special orders.
Nope. Excuse me, colleagues, so just revise that motion to exclude Senate Bill 117. So I'll run through them again. Senate Bill 71, Senate Bill 112, Senate Bill 147, Senate Bill 149, Senate Bill 150, Senate Bill 152, Senate Bill 158, Senate Bill 166, and Senate Bill 167.
Why is it a special order since it's already on the general order, second reading of those kinds? Okay. Okay, so is it being laid over?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
Come on, people, do your job.
So we're okay with it, right?
We're all, it's going to be back.
So say it again so everybody knows.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, third time is the charm. The bill at issue is Senate Bill 117, which will be included in the motion to take that up on special order second reading of bills. Just to make it clear, I'll run through one more time. Senate Bill 71, Senate Bill 117, Senate Bill 112, Senate Bill 147, Senate Bill 149, Senate Bill 150, Senate Bill 152, Senate Bill 158, Senate Bill 166, and Senate Bill 167 at the hour of 10:04.
You have heard the motion to take up special orders, second reading of bills, listed by the Majority Leader at the hour of 10:04. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will take up special orders. Senator Roberts, at the hour of 10:04. I will. We will take a brief recess to get the calendar prepared. The Senate will come back to order. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. In honor of Groundhog Day week, I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special orders, second reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills. Senator Roberts will take the chair. Excuse me, special orders. We're still on special orders. You're on it. I said John.
Are you moving on? The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 112? 71.
Senate Bill 71 by Senators John and Hill and Representatives McCain and Landgraf concerning the ability of a pharmacist to substitute an interchangeable biological product for a prescribed biological product when certain conditions are satisfied.
Do we need a majority leader? Majority Leader Sheffel.
Yeah.
You're laying over 71?
No, we're in 71.
Yeah.
117 is the one we're laying over. This is 71. Here you go.
Yep.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 71 and the committee report.
To the committee report. Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a wonderful discussion in committee about this bill, and we'll explain the bill in a minute, although I think a certain senator from Denver was not enjoying that committee discussion as much as possible. It was definitely a unique committee, but we had some great discussion, and I ask for your support on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the report is adopted. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, we've got an important bill before you here today. Many of you have heard about it. The subtitle in this bill may be the Lobby Full Employment Act. But what we're looking to do here, we've got an opportunity for this whole new subset of drugs to treat many of the most tragic illnesses that we face. Whether it's across the board, we've got an opportunity to pioneer something new, to innovate. Every single one of us have talked about the importance of innovation. The biologic drugs we're authorizing in this bill are innovative. We've talked about the importance of choice in healthcare and open up new opportunities. The biologic drugs that we are authorizing in this bill bring new choice. We've talked about the need for full information and transparency in decision-making in our healthcare system. The biologic drugs that we're bringing here in this bill offer that kind of opportunity and transparency. We had a great discussion about a host of issues. We're going to be talking about a couple of amendments here. But what we have the chance to do is empower parents, to empower patients, to empower doctors, to empower pharmacists, to explore this whole new area of drugs and see if we really can deal with some of the most tragic illnesses we face today.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator John, do you want to say?
Thank you, and I know that you all will be just as happy to get this bill heard today as the sponsor, the co-prime sponsor, and I will be. This legislation became really important to me when my daughter was 21. She was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and of course, broke my heart because all I could picture was the most severe cases. And here she is, 21 years old. What in the world am I going to do? I pictured her in the wheelchair. I pictured her going through life just not even really being able to function. They put her on extremely toxic medications, which they had to do, so that they could arrest it, so that it did not go into the joints and actually destroy the joints and the cartilage. But those medications are so bad with so many different side effects. And then she had the opportunity to go on a biologic. We were very excited, and then found out how much they are. Hers alone is $1,500 a month. Can't do it. Can't do it. The pharmaceutical company said, we have a program, and it doesn't last forever because you can only be on it for so long. And so she went on to this assistance where they help her get the biologic that she's on. And it has been an absolute lifesaver for her. And she's doing really, really well. And she's got 2 great little children. How can she stay on that when it goes back to $1,500 a month? She can't. There is no way. And so I know that the the Arthritis Foundation, and many of the rheumatoid patients that I have talked to are so begging us to pass legislation like this so that they have a chance to get a biosimilar, which are just now coming into Colorado. Well, actually, they're just now coming in at all. 2015, which is why it's so critical that we do it this year. These have been FDA approved. They have been researched until there's just no research left to be done, so that they are actually interchangeable with a biologic. And we're giving the pharmacist who has incredible knowledge, if you ever have conversations with them, sometimes I think they know more than the doctors do, that they have the ability to do this when someone comes to the pharmacy. But then most importantly, and I heard this for the past 2 years, most importantly, the patients and the consumers have asked us to be sure that their doctor's notified. I mean, that's just fair. Yeah, you're going to hear that, oh my God, it's going to cost so much extra work. Really? We pulled the data, and in 2013, it may have been 3.84 of these a week. This is about protecting the patients and the consumers, that their doctor has every right to know if that switch has been made. And the doctor has, by the way, we would never take away the doctor's ability to say, no, dispense is written, can't go there. So these are very, very new. They're not flooding into the market because they can't. It's just a way for us to be able to get people that have these debilitating and horrible diseases some relief as something they might be able to afford. Because I'll tell you right now, the insurance companies doesn't pay for the biologics. With that, I ask for your support of Senate Bill 71.
So there is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L008?
Amendment L008 to Senate Bill 71 by Senator Hill, amend printed bill
Senator
page
Hill.
4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L008.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, what we're doing here in Amendment 8, there's an important process of transparency and full information that we need within our healthcare system to work well. What's exciting about Senate Bill 71 that we're bringing here, many of us have talked about the need for choice. Many of us have talked about the need for better healthcare. This does it in a way that empowers the patient and empowers the doctor, and it's not a heavy set of mandates. What I'm doing here with this amendment is adding a transparency measure that just says, and I can read it to you here if you'd like, that just says, within a reasonable time after dispensing one of these biologic products, that dispensing pharmacist or his or her designee shall communicate the specific biologic product dispensed to the patient. And we've made this really flexible to say you can do it through electronic prescribing technology, you can do it through electronic patient records, you can do it through email, you can do it through fax, you can do it through telephone, any electronic transmission, or other prevailing means. It doesn't have to be done ahead of time. This really does. It empowers the pharmacist to sit and have this discussion with the patient. And then whatever decision they come to, whatever we've empowered the patient with, now gets to go back and we've got that information there with the doctor as well, empowering that trio to make these decisions with full information. So I ask for your support on Amendment 8.
Is there any further discussion on L008? Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have an amendment to Amendment 8, and I move L009.
Senator Lundberg, we need to adopt this amendment first.
We adopt the amendment? Okay.
Is there any further discussion on L008? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I rise in support of Amendment L008. Members, you may recall that, don't recall Thursday when I was vomiting, but 2 years ago when I when I was one of the strongest opponents of the bill related to biosimilars that came in, and part of my opposition had to do with the requirements for notification of physicians. And at that time, what was in the bill was that as the patient was standing in front of the pharmacist had to stop what they were doing, try and reach the physician, and get permission to substitute the drug. And I was really concerned that that wouldn't happen, that the substitutions wouldn't happen, and that we drive up the costs. When I spoke with the House sponsors on the bill about this, including a House sponsor who has been on biologics herself, she felt very strongly that she wanted her physician to be notified when a drug was substituted because these drugs are so novel and new, and the possibility for adverse reaction she felt was enhanced. Now, I think we can spend a lot of time getting doctors up here debating whether that's true or not, but over the course of 2 years, they've modified the requirement to something that I don't think has the same risk of becoming a deterrent to prescribing, which is what's in this amendment. It says, first of all, that it can happen within a reasonable time. It doesn't have to happen right there before the drug is dispensed. And it also says that if you're already part of an electronic record, like our Kaiser system is, nothing needs to happen. There are states like Massachusetts which are supposed to get all their medical records electronically in the next 2 years. And so again, in those states, nothing would need to happen. Hopefully we'll get there someday. And that basically, as Senator Hill said, short of carrier pigeon, the notification can be made in any way, telephone, fax, email. And so I felt like this bridged that desire between consumers wanting their provider to be notified and providers not being alarmed that a substitution was being made. And so I rise in support of Amendment L008.
Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question for the sponsor of the amendment and maybe the bill is, I'm not seeing a time frame in terms of how long that notification should be kept on file, if that is going to be something necessary, and then so just wondering if that is something that needs to be added to this amendment.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for that question. You know, we've worked to make this as flexible as possible, rather than coming down and making something really heavy-handed. We really did. This was not about picking one side over the other, to make it as flexible as possible and encourage that conversation in the right amount of time. So we've just said in there within a reasonable time after dispensing. And most pharmacists I've talked to have said, you know what, they've got processes already for communicating back with the doctor, and so we're hoping they can just fit those back into those processes.
Senator John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the one thing I will tell you is that once this notification goes to the doctor, it goes into the patient's medical file. So it goes into their file so that the doctor has the information of what medications they're on. So just want you to know we're not doing anything with their records.
Senator Martinez-Humanic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I'd just like to remind you that the pharmacists already have to report every medication that goes to the patient, and doctors should be notifying their patients when they first give them a prescription for something that there is a possibility that they will have an interchangeable drug used. But the pharmacists are already having to notify electronically. If it's a rural community or a community that does not have electronic filing, they are calling and faxing like they always have been, but this would change the standards for the pharmacists in our state, so I would caution us on making changes to those standards because this is still going into the patient record, and the physicians can pull this up on a PDA or on their computer system, and they will have notification of what has been substituted in that regards as well. So I would just ask you to think about that.
Is there, Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to reiterate that if this already goes into the record, there is no requirement for notification. So those cases where it's already in the record, it's not going to be required. And then we're talking actually about a very small portion of the market. Unfortunately, it's a very expensive portion of the market, and that's a different discussion that I wish we had more control over at the state level. But right now, about 0.3% of prescriptions are biologics. So really, this is a very novel new medication. We're anticipating one biosimilar right now in the spring, a biosimilar for the drug used in dialysis, erythropoietin. And that's why this legislation is being moved forward. Our hope is that more will come forward in the future. But this is, again, a very niche market, a very expensive market, so I am concerned about the cost. But at the end of the day, I know that consumers want to know what they got and know that their provider knows what they got, and it's for that reason I support the amendment.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President.
Chair.
You know, that what the previous senator spoke about is exactly what the problem with this is. Right now, it is 0.3%. But what about the future? As this grows exponentially, the fear is there's going to be so much communicating necessary. And I do believe that we can fix this. I think everybody wants a biosimilars. I don't think that's a question here. It's about the notification. But I think there's a way to fix this so everybody can be happy. You know, what we're trying to do is reduce medical care costs through pharmaceuticals and whatnot, and there's a way to do this. But we should not continually placing restrictions on this to make it more expensive, because what we're trying to do is make it less expensive. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on L008? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L008. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. There is another amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L009?
Amendment L009 to Senate Bill 71 by Senator Lundberg. Amend the Hill Floor Amendment, Senate Bill 71 L008, page 1, line 12, after
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a very small change to the amendment that the good senator from El Paso County ran earlier, L008. It specifies early in the amendment that a pharmacist or his or her designee may do the reporting, but you work down in the amendment and it neglects to say or his or her designee and another component on notifying the physician. This simply adds the words after the word pharmacist or his or her designee.
Senator Lundberg, would you please move the amendment?
I move L009.
Is there any discussion on L009? Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues. We really had some great discussion with the good senator from Berthoud here. We appreciate his help in working through this language. This is a great amendment and really do appreciate it. I ask for your support on this as well.
Any further discussion on L009? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L009. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. So we can go to the bill, although we had a bit of that prior. So Senators Hill and John, any further discussion? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, colleagues, I think that what we're addressing is going to be a very small market right now, and I think that our hope is that as time goes forward, medical research will advance to the point where there are more drugs that fall into this category that are available that really make a life-changing difference in people's lives. And I think we need to remember that if that happens and we find that this, in fact, is having an unintended consequence of being burdensome, we can count on our future legislators to take on that topic and modify this if it needs to be modified. And so for that reason, I'd ask for your support for Senate Bill 71 in the format that it is right now for the year 2015.
There is an amendment on the desk again. We have L010. Mr. Majors, would you please read amendment number L010?
Amendment L010, Senate Bill 71 by Senator Crowder.
Senator
Hills.
Crowder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L010 on SB 071.
Please proceed, Senator Crowder.
Thank you. And basically what this amendment does, and what we're trying to do is, we're trying to clarify it now so that, like the good senator prior to me, so as time goes on, everyone knows where they're at. What this does, there are some FDA-approved interchangeable biological products, and what we're saying is basically once that has been approved and it's been prescribed by that patient and the notification, they shouldn't have to do it every time, and that's as well as prior fillings. Every time you fill a prescription, you should not have to notify the physician as he has already been notified the first time around. Thank you. I ask for an aye vote on L010.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would ask for a senatorial 5.
Give you a senatorial 5.
Okay.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to withdraw L010.
Thank you. Senator Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 71 lay over to the end of the special order second reading of bills.
Senate Bill 71 will lay over to the end of special order second reading of bills. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Senate Bill 71 will lay over. Majority Leader Scheffel. Where are we? Mr. Majors, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 117?
Senate Bill 117 by Senator Lambert to Representative Joshi concerning prohibiting discrimination in public financing of institutions of higher education.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 117 lay over to February 5th.
Motion is to lay over Senate Bill 117 to February 5th. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Senate Bill 117 will lay over to February 5th. Okay. Mr. Majors, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 112?
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Stedman and Representative Rankin concerning the transfer of monies from the general fund to the building regulation fund.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 112, and there are no committee reports.
To the bill, Senator Stedman.
Thank you. Colleagues, this is a joint budget committee bill. It's part of our supplemental appropriation package for fiscal year 14-15. And the remainder of the bills on the calendar that we haven't dealt with yet today are all part of our supplemental package. And it's probably easier if you follow along in your yellow booklet. This particular bill, you'll find information on page 65 of the booklet. It's a simple bill. It addresses a projected deficit in a cash fund balance at the Department of Local Affairs. And this bill proposes a solution to avoid the fund from being in year-end deficit. The reason we're needing to do this is that in 2009, the General Assembly swept over $1 million out of this fund for budget balancing purposes. The fund's been struggling ever since. It hasn't had enough revenue. And so Senate Bill 112 is a partial repayment of the monies that were swept. It'll take place in 2 installments, $500,000 in total. Waivers of the limits on uncommitted excess reserve fund balances because of this rapid infusion of money. And hopefully this gets that fund back on track where ordinary fee revenue to the fund will support its operations in the future. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of Senate Bill 112? Senator Lambert.
Thank you. I also ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 112.
The motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 112. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 147?
Senate Bill 147 by Senator Lambert to Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 147. The members, all of the bills that we're going to be moving here in the next few minutes have the detailed description in your yellow book. They're not in the bill folders. The actual bill is basically a spreadsheet because it's an appropriation, but the explanation of everything is in your yellow book that says 14-15 supplemental package. It's not the budget yellow book, it's the supplemental yellow book. So right now, Senate Bill 147, which I just moved, is on page 20. If you want to follow along with that, and I just ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 147? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 147. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 149?
Senate Bill 149 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Human Services.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 149 and ask for an aye vote. Colleagues, this in your yellow book is on pages 25 through 28. It's the Department of Human Services supplemental. There are many significant changes in here. for this current fiscal year, probably the most significant one. At the top of the page, on page 27, is the new 8-bed treatment unit at SimHip in Pueblo. There are many other smaller changes included in that. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 149. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 150?
Senate Bill 150 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Judicial Department.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 150. There are no committee reports, and this is the supplemental appropriations for the judicial branch. You'll find this in page 30 of your yellow book, and largely caseload adjustments. There are some increases in the Office of the Child Representative and decreases in the Public Defender's Office. Really, this is just mid-year true-ups to caseload experience for the department. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 150. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 152?
Senate Bill 152 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Law.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 152. This is the supplemental appropriation for the Department of Law. And this particular one has a net increase of about $401,000 of total spending authority to support increased legal expenses for the Safe to Tell program. Also has some increased legal services for several departments, the Department of Corrections, Division of Motor Vehicles, and the Department of Revenue's Marijuana Enforcement Division. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I wanted to highlight something that has given me heartburn, quite frankly, is when we come to a supplemental on page 34 of the book, where we have an independent ethics commission, legal services. We didn't budget for external lawyers or asking for more money for external lawyers, and I would argue that that is not a role and has not been a role and should not be a role of the Independent Ethics Commission. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not supportive of this supplemental.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the senator from Sterling for that observation. Actually, I think there is a substantive issue there about how we do provide legal services for the Independent Ethics Commission. I might suggest to the body that if this is really to be an independent oversight committee that hires independent lawyers, it's probably better to go to the Department of Law than it is to have them internally within the Independent Ethics Commission, because that could result in a conflict of interest really on the commission themselves, commissioners themselves. So again, I ask for an aye vote for Senate Bill 152.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't realize we were going to get a chance to debate the Ethics Commission on the floor this year, but I'm happy to get to do so. And if you want to talk about conflicts of interest, go pull up some of their case filings where you'll see that the Attorney General's office is suing the Independent Ethics Commission, and the Attorney General's office is defending the Ethics Commission in that lawsuit that they brought against it. That is reality, folks, and you want to talk about conflicts of interest, I think we have a royal one going on, and if you want to talk about the independence of the Ethics Commission, I think it's actually lacking under the current scenario, but, you know, that's a debate I didn't think we were going to get to have this year. What I do think is important about the bill before you, Senate Bill 152, is that it funds the operation of government that we have today, which is what our budget process is supposed to do. We write the long bill to current law. We provide supplemental appropriations so that the agencies can meet their responsibilities and their caseload under current law. And this agency has had overruns in legal expenditure costs, and frankly, I think the reason is because a lot of partisan politics and campaign season shenanigans visited themselves on the Ethics Commission in the last year, and they've been drugged through the courts, and there's all kinds of litigation, and yes, we're spending more on lawyers for the Independent Ethics Commission, but the state constitution directs us. It says the General Assembly shall appropriate monies for the expenses of the Independent Ethics Commission. The voters gave us a directive, and I think Senate Bill 152 is keeping faith with what the voters wanted, however much resistance there may be in this building.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there was another independent request. It wasn't part of this bill, but actually one that we just passed a few minutes ago, where the internal operations of the Independent Ethics Commission had requested some more money. We were able to allow them to do that without a spending increase, a total net increase, by giving some more flexibility within their department. I just wanted to mention that because I think that allowed them to operate through the end of the year without additional monies. So again, I would ask for your support and your passage of this supplemental for the Department of Law, Senate Bill 152.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 152. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 158?
Senate Bill 158 by Senator Lambert, Representative Hamner, concerning a supplemental appropriation in the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 158. Would ask for an aye vote. Senate Bill 158 is the supplemental for the Department of Public Health and Environment and includes a significant number for the Front Range Air Pollution and Photochemistry Experiment, the FRAP-A. You can't make this stuff up. Well, I guess they did make this stuff up. These dollars are being appropriated here in this bill. Were already appropriated in the 13-14 fiscal year and are being redone here due to the timing of the contract payments for this FRAP-A experiment. And I would ask for an aye vote.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I voted no on several of these, but only going to talk about a small handful, and this is another one where I have huge concerns. That Front Range Air Pollution and Photochemistry Experiment was put in place, if I remember correctly, in 2011, and this is the final payment, if I remember correctly. How do we not budget for that ahead of time? Why does that qualify for a supplemental when we know that has to be paid on an annual basis? That doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I'm a no on this supplemental.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you. And again, thank you to Senator Sonnenberg for bringing up an important point. I believe the FRAP-A experiment came in as an interim supplemental to the Budget Committee in previous years. It was a different composition of the committee. It was a different General Assembly. And as I recall, and I'm sorry for addressing my colleague by his proper name, but the senator from Sterling brought up a good point. The senator might be interested in knowing that I voted against that for some of the same reasons that he is objecting to it now. We do have certain criteria where during the interim, the Joint Budget Committee can make decisions, and they made a decision at that time. We do have that legislative power to, under certain very controlled situations, while the General Assembly is not convened, to appropriate money under the understanding that when we come back into session with the entire General Assembly, we have to pay that bill. We have to run a supplemental under the presumption that it will pass. That whole process is called the 1331 process, after one of the bills, I think probably from the early 90s, that created that process. And just for your interest, if anybody is interested in the body, the Joint Budget Committee, for that reason, never adjourns. We are always in session, and we only go into recess in case there is an emergency process in the state, like wildfires and other things, where we would have to meet as a committee under the understanding that we have to make mid-year adjustments. That particular one, it was a decision really from the long past, and now we are simply closing out that account. It's already been paid for, and we're trying to acknowledge that as part of this supplemental to make sure that we end up the year with a balanced budget and all our bills are paid. So again, I would ask for an aye vote on, I think we're on 158.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 158. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 166?
Senate Bill 166 by Senator Stedman and Representative Hamner concerning adjustments in the amount of total program funding for public schools for the 2014-15 budget year and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 166, and there are no committee reports. Colleagues, this bill makes statutory changes to the School Finance Act to accomplish mid-year supplemental adjustments in our total program funding for school finance. The reasons why we do mid-year adjustments, and actually the Department of Education is required by law to submit a supplemental request each year to make this adjustment. The reason we do this is because now, unlike when we passed the School Finance Act last spring, we have the actual pupil count from the October enrollment numbers for all the school districts. We have an exact count of how many of those children qualify for at-risk funding under our School Finance Act. And we've also had certification from the county assessors of all of their assessed value that generates local share property tax revenues to the school districts. Senate Bill 166 makes adjustments in statute, particularly to how the negative factor is expressed in statute, to accomplish a true-up for all those actual pupil counts and actual local revenues. Yeah. There's good news in this year's supplemental true-up for school finance. Last year, we overestimated pupil count by just a bit. We overestimated the at-risk count by a bit more. Both of those work to the state's favor. We're saving money. And local property tax revenues came in higher than projected by just a hair. All of that works to our favor. And so what we are doing here is we are refinancing a little bit of last year's School Finance Act to use the local property tax revenues to their fullest extent, saving $2.9 million in the state education fund. And we are then also taking the savings from the pupil count, and particularly the at-risk count, and holding total program constant, thereby buying down the negative factor by about $14 million. Now, sounds good, but if you recall, the negative factor is close to $900 million, so that $14 million in progress we're making here doesn't get us that far, but it's still reason to celebrate. In all, this is good news for most of your school districts, just in terms of the fact that we're keeping total program constant, even though pupil count went down. There's a little bit more money on the table there for all the school districts. However, the impact that most school districts are going to feel is in that overestimation of at-risk. And for districts that have a lot of poverty, have at-risk kids, they're probably going to see a reduction in their overall per-pupil revenues based upon the fact that so many kids didn't show up at risk in the formula. This is required to be in statute again because we have to change the way the negative factor is expressed in statute. That's what Senate Bill 166 does, and I'd ask for your aye vote.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, colleagues, I think this is totally appropriate to do this. There are certain things that we cannot know 18 months in advance when we do a budget and then try to forecast the closeout on June 30th of the following year. In this particular case, we've today seen, for instance, the costs of Medicaid. They fluctuate greatly. Fortunately, they kind of stayed within their lanes this year. In this case, same thing with pupil count. When we actually know how many people are in the schools, we can make a more accurate assessment of what we need to do to close out this year's budget by the end of the year. And it's the final tweak before we actually come up with a balanced budget for fiscal year 14-15. So it's an important mid-year correction. I think it's totally appropriate, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 166. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 167?
Senate Bill 167 by Senator Stedman and Representative Rankin concerning a modification in the monies available to certain departments for the 2014-15 fiscal year for programs that the General Assembly funded in 2014 from state monies collected in connection with the legal marijuana industry.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 167, and there are no committee reports. Colleagues, this is a adjustment to appropriations that were made last year through Senate Bill 215, which is a bill I carried on behalf of the Joint Budget Committee that allocated and approved spending of revenues on legal marijuana sales and the taxes that the state is collecting under Proposition AA. And given that that was our first year of having those taxes in place, you know, our staffs had a little bit of challenge in trying to forecast the amount of revenue. We were working off of an anticipated forecast, and the one thing you know about forecasts, I've often heard people say, is that they're wrong. You know, they're a guess. And sure enough, it was wrong. We actually approved more spending in Senate Bill 215 last year than there is revenue to support. And so we're taking negative supplemental reductions in a couple of the programs that were authorized there. There was a grant program for school-based interventions. There was a program to provide substance abuse treatment for people in county jails that are involved in the criminal justice system. There was also an FTE requested at the Department of Law that they decided they didn't need. All of those are being reduced through Senate Bill 167 to just true it up to actual revenue and continue to support the enforcement and regulatory functions at the Department of Revenue. There's a couple adjustments in here as well for that. This is, I think, keeping faith with what we've been doing with Proposition AA taxes, and hopefully, you know, becomes easier to project the tax revenue. We'll know more about sales volumes and demand as we progress into this new industry and this new tax revenue source. And we are trying to hold true to some of the policies and priorities that were set last year by the Budget Committee and the General Assembly in how we've treated those revenues. I do believe there is a floor amendment, Madam Chair.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment J003?
Amendment J003, Senate Bill 167 by Senator Stedman, limited.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment J003. And colleagues, what this does is it addresses one of the programs that was funded last year in Senate Bill 215, which was substance abuse treatment for high-risk adolescents and pregnant women. And this is an appropriation made to the Department of Human Services through their Office of Behavioral Health to try to use some of the marijuana tax revenue to deal with addiction and substance use disorder services. And it's come to our attention that the department has put some restrictions on exactly how the dollars are being used, and that they've been very slow so far to get those dollars out the door. And there is a concern that these dollars could end up going unspent, and I think it would be something that would miss the mark a little bit in terms of the priorities the General Assembly has set out for what we're going to be doing with marijuana tax revenue. And frankly, I think substance use treatment is first and foremost one of the kinds of things voters had in mind of what we would be spending these dollars on when they approved Proposition AA. And so we'd like to keep these dollars serving these vulnerable populations. This amendment will allow the monies to be rolled forward and available to the department through fiscal year 15-16. Otherwise, it would revert on July 1 of this current calendar year. And they've only started getting these dollars out the door, and we want to make sure these dollars do serve the populations we're trying to reach. The amendment also directs or authorizes the department to specifically provide wraparound services for eligible individuals. They may be able to qualify for Medicaid or some other way of accessing substance abuse treatment, maybe elsewhere in the criminal justice system. But to the extent that those other programs fall short of meeting those people's needs, we'd like these Prop AA tax dollars to come in and provide those wraparound services and make sure we're doing what we can to address substance use disorder in these high-risk populations. Thank you for your attention, and I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill itself has to do with the revenue and the budgeting of various types of marijuana revenue. Obviously, as we start up this new type of program, there have been a lot of changes. We've had to go back to the voters a couple of times. That will probably happen again, maybe before the end of the year. But it is a very volatile and uncertain, unpredictable funding stream. My colleagues, especially my colleague from Denver, has been really having an outstanding level of attention to follow these programs, both in the revenue and on the spending side. The amendment on the table right now is the spending side. When we direct a certain amount of budget in the legislative action to go to particular programs, generally we need to expect that they are going to be spent, but this is frankly started up unacceptably slow. And I think with this amendment, it gives us a chance to see how this program works and avoid reversion at the end of the year, so we can make it a predictable program for people who need that drug abuse or other substance abuse treatments. So I ask for an aye vote on the amendment and an aye vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion of Amendment J003? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment J003. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Now to the bill. Any further discussion of Senate Bill 167? Senator Lambert.
Thank you. I ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 167. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is passed.
Oh, we're back to...
Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 71.
Senate Bill 71 by Senators John and Hill and Representatives McCain and Landgraf concerning the ability of a pharmacist to substitute an interchangeable biological product for a prescribed biological product when certain conditions are satisfied.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 71, and then we'll defer to the good senator from Alamosa.
Thank you. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L011?
Amendment L011 to Senate Bill 71 by Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move forward L011 on SB 71.
Please proceed.
Yes, ma'am. This is what we're trying to do is come up with a compromise we think will fit everyone. And basically what we're doing is we're on the notification. What we'd like to do is have a sunset review requirement in July 1, 2018 from the Department of Regulatory Agencies. That way we could take a look at it from now until then to see how it's working, but have that one aspect of notification on a sunset review requirement. And I ask to move this forward and a yes vote.
Thank you, Senator Crowder. Any further discussion on L011? Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just rise in support of this amendment. It seems like a good compromise to make sure that we are not having anything onerous on either the medical offices or the pharmacists. In fact, last night when I spoke with my own pharmacist, she was very distraught that we were going to add some new regulation of a notice when it's already in the system with a little check mark. So, however, in respect for the sponsors of this bill have worked so hard on this, I will support the bill, but I do think that this amendment offers a good compromise, so I'm an aye on this amendment.
Senator John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually oppose this amendment, and I'll tell you why. You know what? Someone had asked me, well, what is the trigger? The trigger is, you know what, y'all? We meet as a legislature every single year. And so if there are issues in 2017, after we've seen it, because we are expecting one to come in this year, maybe. So the other question was, well, who would do the review? We don't have a clue. Who would do it? Nobody knows about these yet. We don't have the information gathered yet, the data gathered yet. So my suggestion would be, I am an adamant no on the amendment. Come back and revisit this in 2017, if that's what we choose to do.
Senator Martinez-Humanic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am in support of this amendment, and I do want to remind my colleagues in the room that a physician with their patient has the opportunity to mark on that prescription, dispense as written, or they can do notification of interchangeable on that prescription as well. So if that is marked, then the pharmacist has an absolute responsibility of notifying them if they interchange that drug. If it's a dispense as written, they have to write it as it was dispensed. They cannot substitute any of the generic drugs. So I would ask for your support of this amendment. I do think that this is a good compromise and that review is needed, and I will be supporting this.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, members. And I actually also rise in opposition to this, and I want to make a commitment to you that, and I shouldn't make this commitment because I've been so sick this year, but I don't like being on pharma's side. Sorry, pharma. And if this has unintended consequences, I guarantee you I will know that, and I will be introducing a bill, and I'm hoping that, God willing, I'll be here 4 more years. But my big concern with the amendment is that, you know, we were discussing who should do the review, and really, you'd want to know what pharmacists are experiencing, what insurers are experiencing, what the patient is experiencing, and what providers are experiencing. And I don't think there's an agency that we have that could actually do that in really a substantive manner. But I do know that we have organizations in our state like the Colorado Consumer Health Initiative and the Colorado Center on Law and Policy. And if they see that this bill has had unintended consequences, they will bring that to the legislature's attention, and I behoove us to act on it. So I ask for a no on the amendment, and promise as much as I can that I will do my best to keep our pharmaceutical prices low.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think this is exactly what we were talking about. The preceding senator who just spoke, and I went round and round on this 2 years ago. I was the sponsor of the biosimilars bill 2 years ago, and we had countless conversations over a long period of months, and that bill was ultimately rejected for, frankly, some of the same reasons we're talking about here. And she went through why she did not support it at that time. This is 2 years later. We've had a lot of opportunity to review where we've gone from then till now. The science has gone forward, and it looks like it will continue to go forward. So the reason I will not support this amendment is this process will happen again and again as legislatures as this evolves. So we have a process in place. We don't have to put it in place. We have a process, and that's every year we meet for 120 days and have a chance to review all the things that we have done. We're in the process this session of reviewing a lot of things that we've done in the past. And I think we have a process in place that's going to protect all of us and all of our constituents if this is not the right thing to do. This is a statute. each succeeding legislature can change that statute. This is not, fortunately, something in the Constitution. So I would ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion of L011? Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And colleagues, I do appreciate the good senator in bringing this forward. I think there's some really important discussion to be had on this. There's some really important discussion to be had on every single policy that we pass in here. That's part of the nature. This was the idea of the American experiment, that we continue to try things and see if they work and then come back to the drawing board. I will say, carrying 2 sunset bills this year, that it's not always the best way to do that. And so in this case, I ask that you reject this amendment. I appreciate the intention here. Maybe we can have some more public testimony on some of these ideas when it goes over to the House, but the way we've approached this, it does not support this ongoing idea of let's try something, let's go forward with it, let's open up new opportunities for patients, for doctors, and for pharmacists. So I appreciate it if, again, had a great conversation with the good senator who brought it, some good ideas, but appreciate a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion of L011? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L011. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. To the bill, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, we really have had some great discussion, really on all sides of the issue. One of the things that encourages me tremendously about how we've taken Senate Bill 71 and the biologics is we really have, it has been a bipartisan, it's been a robust discussion over a couple of years, and now we've gotten to a great point, I would say, as you heard from several of the other senators, especially the good senator with a great-looking blazer on from Denver here, as a doctor, and some great discussion. This whole process really has, in many ways for me, rebuilt and uplifted the idea that what we do here, it is meaningful, it is valuable, and we can come out with good policy. Senate Bill 71 is good policy for patients, it's good policy for doctors, it's good policy for every single person looking for more freedom, for more opportunity, for more transparency in the healthcare system, and I ask your support.
Senator John.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think that we have spent a good deal of time discussing this. I have found it amazing this year after watching this over the past couple of years of how so many of these entities have come together and figured out their differences and how we can actually get to a common ground with so many of them. And again, I would just say that this is about the consumer. It's about bringing them something that may be more affordable, and that their doctor has every right to know. If it's a refill, it's a refill. You don't notify a doctor if it's a refill. But this is really, truly about a consumer and what's best for them. So thank you for all of your time, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 71. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report. Kind of made a mess.
The Senate will come back to order. Please welcome back Senator Harvey to the chamber. It seems like he's never left. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
February 4, 2015, Mr. President, your committee, the whole page report is under consideration. The following tax bills being single reading thereof makes following recommendations are on. Senate Bills 112, 147, 149, 150, 152, 158, 167, 166, 167 as amended, 71 as amended. Passed on second reading in order to grow based on the counter for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 117 laid over until February 5th, 2015, retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is for the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 15, 112, 147, 149, 150, 152, 158, 166, 167 as amended, 71 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 15, 117 laid over until February 5th, 2015 and retaining its place on the calendar. Message from the House.
February 4, 2015, Mr. President, the House has passed on third reading and transmitted the advisory statutes, House Bills 1023, 1052, and 1067. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted the advisory statutes, House Bill 1004 as amended, House Bill 1034 as amended, House Bill 1059 as amended, House Bill 1022 as amended. The House has passed on third reading and returns here with Senate Bills 98 and 35.
And now a message that we actually care about from the reviser.
February 4, 2015, we hear with a transmit without comment House Bills 1023, 1052, and 1067. Without comment as amended, House Bills 1004, 1022, 1034, and 1059.
Announcements. Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since we had several supplemental JBC bills on the calendar today, we thank you for your help in getting those passed, but the JBC is going to take a little break now, and we are not going to start our work on the budget figure setting until 1:30.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you all received a flyer on your desk for the Colorado Children's Caucus. We are meeting again on Monday. Wanted to give you heads up that if you would like lunch, then RSVP so we can have a lunch for you. And the number is on there. So it's Monday at noon. And we will be talking about the challenges of youth transitioning out of foster care. Thank you so much.
Further announcements? Senator Martinez-Humenic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to remind everybody that Friday is going to be Wear Red Day. So I just wanted to throw that back out there for everyone so that we do come in our red. Thank you.
Women heart attack. Right? Say why we're wearing red. You want me to say why we're wearing red? Hey, Beth. Beth.
You may want to explain a resolution.
You could. Announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a point of clarification. The reason why we're all being asked to wear red is because of women, the American Heart Association, and the increased affinity for women to have heart attacks. And so that's why we're wearing red. Senator Martinez-Humenic couldn't speak, and so I'm helping her out with that. For your planning this afternoon and upon adjournment, colleagues, just a couple of notes. Senate Agriculture, Natural Resource and Energy Committee plans to not hear and lay over Senate Bill 134. This afternoon, Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee plans to not hear and lay over Senate Bill 110. And this afternoon, Senate Judiciary plans to lay over and not hear Senate Bill 6. With no other announcements, Mr. President, move the Senate adjourn to February 5th at 9 a.m.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will be adjourned until 9 a.m. Thursday, February 5th.